of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
And welcome back to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight podcast. We have game one in the books. We have a little bit of a recap what went on in game one against the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, whose name shall not be mentioned, but we probably will. There's a little bit of news as well, which we'll just touch on at the back end of this podcast. Timmy and Ryan here today, and we are going to get straight into this. Timmy, I think you are going to go first with the O-line. What happened with the O-line? Why is the O-line so important this week?
So I think as we headed into this game, we all expected the defense to be our strong point. We didn't know what to expect from our offense. And we were very hopeful that, we had a very young line. We'd had a big injury to the line during the week with AVT going out. And we were a bit unsure as to what might happen when we were doing the preview podcast. But I'm glad to say that O-line did fantastically well. Standout in particular was our rookie, who I'm just looking at the PFF numbers here, is the top ranked offensive tackle for the week with a PFF score of 89, 2 points higher than Ronnie Stanley, who's in second place. So, I mean, what more could we have asked for from him in particular, as we headed into this game? As a rookie, his first NFL competitive game to come out as the top graded tackle in the league for the week against what I would consider to be one of the top 5 D-lines in the league as well. So credit to him. And, credit to the rest of the line as well. We had to move Tippmann around into guard, who did, I thought, fantastically well. I thought Brees ran very much to the left a lot, so Fashanu did a lot of work there. Not Simpson's best game while he was in the game. Unfortunately, he went out early. We're still waiting to hear what the story is with him. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But considering it was a patch together line, I just thought we did fantastically well. And that showed up really with, I suppose, the performance of everybody around them, all the skill players. Justin Fields had a great day, had loads of time in the pocket. Brees Hall ran for 107 yards and with 182 yards on the ground. So we really looked like the Detroit offense, which is what we were all really hopeful for.
Yeah, it's really funny you mentioned we ran a lot to the left, because in pre-season we ran a lot to the right. So it's the complete opposite. So this just goes to show, doesn't it? Pre-season, just don't read into anything. Another thing I want to touch on that you mentioned about Brees Hall, I got slaughtered for putting this up. I don't regret doing it because my intentions were honourable. But I put a post up on Twitter with Brees Hall and Le'Veon Bell, the suggestion being that Brees in pre-season was just doing all this dancing nonsense behind the O-line, because that's what he was doing. And obviously this was all part and parcel of the pre-season. Is Brees going to come back with a decent game this year, or is it still the same Brees at the back end of last year? And by all intents and purposes, the pre-season games, Brees Hall did not look good, and the rest of the running backs did, and it was evident, which is why I put that tweet on there. So if you did see that tweet, that wasn't me having a go at Brees Hall. It was an observation, but he looked unbelievable. Ryan, what do you reckon? O-line and how it impacted the game?
I think the O-line, it was superb. The O-line was exactly what we've been hoping for the last few years. It's exactly what we've been building towards. I think a real credit has to go to Josh Myers coming in. We were all saying he's not a starting centre. There's no competition here. And then look, what has happened has caused Joe Tippmann to be kicked out to the guard position. And I don't recall, based on the eye test alone, I don't recall seeing too many errant snaps. And I don't recall seeing too much in the way of issues through him. So I'm pretty pleased that the guy did his job. He's come in on such a low cost contract, and he's done his job. The O-line functioned great. Membu, highest graded PFF tackle, fantastic. And as you say, maybe John Simpson's not his best game, but we know the level he can play at. And if that was the worst game we see of him this year, cool, sign me up.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that O-line was fantastic. Tippmann at guard is superb. We know he can also play centre. I think Tippmann is going to, in time, Tippmann will go down as one of the greatest drafted players from the Joe Douglas era.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we should also mention Fashanu. I think he only gave up one sack, as far as I can remember. He got a little bit caught off balance. He was on his back foot, and it led to, I can't remember who it was it TJ Watt that got the sack?
I think so.
But
Yeah.
he gave up one sack. But hey, all we have heard in this last 2 weeks in the build up to this game was how good, how hungry, how the Pittsburgh Steelers front four were going to feast on our O line. I think people in the Jet side of things were like, I think you're overestimating how good you are. They are a good front four. They are extremely talented, but I think on the day they came up against a resolute offensive line. So more than pleased with that. And just touching back on Breece Hall again, it's good to see Breece running that thing like he has been. And the other two running backs, Braylon Allen chipped in, and so did Isaiah Davis. They both chipped in a little bit as well. But the guy under centre, or shotgun, as he was most of the time, Justin Fields. Ryan, what about Justin Fields? Because all we've been led to believe is, well, this guy, it's a prove it kind of a season. He's on a 2-year deal. It's a kind of a prove it season. We could be drafting a quarterback high in the draft next year. That didn't look like the plan, did it?
I honestly, I'm not 100% sure who was inside that helmet on Sunday, because that guy, he could throw. He was throwing, and do you know what? The really interesting thing was the tight windows where he was throwing. And when the pressure was coming, he was stepping up into the pocket. He wasn't concerned that he was going to get hit. He trusted his O line, and he delivered those balls on a dime. There was a particular pass to Tyler Johnson, which was fantastically placed. Meant that Tyler Johnson could corral that ball, secure it into his gut, and take the hit, and then basically just drop, get the first down, move on. Similar thing with the one of the Ruckert throws. Nowhere else he could have put it but into Ruckert's hands there. And thankfully Ruckert had a very good game and caught both his passes. And there's another particular one where he had to throw to the outside shoulder of Garrett Wilson, because it was the only place he could really put the ball and make sure that there was no concern that it was going to be intercepted or broken up and all that. So this was a guy who actually the issues with him were the passing game. But I mean, we all knew he was going to move on his legs, and he looked great doing that. I don't really need to dwell on that. The passing was really a revelation for the game. Whether that is play calling, whether that is the scheming and everything else, whether they've just gone, you know what, you're really great when you do this with the ball in hand, when you throw it. Let's just do more of that, because maybe the other schemes have pushed him to do stuff that isn't in his comfort zone, and maybe they just know there's a certain level where he can throw, how he can throw, and that's where he's at his most comfortable. And if that's the case, let him do it. But if actually the coaching team have gone, we really believe in you, we think you can do this, and they've empowered him with the tools, and they've coached him with the stuff that he needed coaching with, and this is the result, then man, we are really cooking.
We have. I think that is pretty well said, actually. Daniel's just joined us. Sorry, we started a little bit early. Sorry, Daniel. We're just talking about Justin Fields. We've just talked about the O-line being absolutely incredible and how they played against that front four of the Steelers, and how it's impacted Justin Fields. It really was a revelation, wasn't it?
A revelation? A revelation, you say?
Yes, a revelation.
It was absolutely glorious. It was glorious when you're seeing two bookend tackles absolutely stifling the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, the run defense, the pass defense. It was unbelievable. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this is what I have been begging for. This is what all of us have been begging for. And it was just tremendous. And I'll tell you this, my friends, not once was Justin Fields' back or ass on the field turf. Not one. 0 sacks allowed.
He had a clean jersey.
Week 1. Clean jersey, clean pants, clean everything. You didn't have to put in the washing machine. It was, hang it up, boys. I'll use it next week. I'll tell you right now. Did you see the way TJ Watt was upset on the sidelines? Did you see the steam fuming from the top of his head? and the mean, upset look on his face every time he was on the sideline because a certain rookie tackle on the right side not only prevented him from getting to Justin Fields, but pancaked him down to the damn pitch.
Yeah.
Armand Membu. This kid that, you heard these great things about him in college. And it's like, great, it's college, but we need to see what he can do in the professional level, in the NFL level. And he has transferred everything from the college level to the NFL. Nothing. Nada. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Goose egg. Donuts. Nothing. Every single defensive player on the stat sheet with the sack stat with 0.0 all the way down. It was just tremendous. And I swear to God, I had to, at halftime, I had to get a roll of paper towels. And I had to keep on wiping the drool off my freaking mouth to see that Picasso displayed by Armand Membu. Also by Olu Fashanu. I mean, it was great to see Tippmann moving to guard while Josh Myers played center. And, of course, John Simpson did an excellent job as well. The entire line was fabulous, protecting the pocket, giving holes to Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. That, my friends, is what I have been screaming for all these years. The O-line, and any other Jet fan who screamed for, we should have gotten Brock Bowers. That's why you don't get Brock Bowers. That's what you fix. Because if you fix that O-line, then you can worry about the next draft, who to bring over for a stud tight end.
Yeah. I think we'll just go back to this O-line. I'll bring you in on this one, Timmy. I think it was a consensus pick by most Jets fans, wasn't it, Armand Membu, going into the draft last year. And this is really, really starting to look like it was absolutely the right pick. Obviously, there was other people. It was the reverse of last year. There were people that were wanting a tight end last year were wanting offensive tackle this year, and all the offensive tackle people were wanting tight end. So it was like a role reversal. But I think it's absolutely starting to look like Membu. I know it's only one game, but it's starting to look like Membu was absolutely the right pick. We need to touch on the connection as well. The band is back together. So you had Myers, Ohio State, Justin Fields, Ohio State, Garrett Wilson, Ohio State. It's all back together again. And the link-up play between Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson.
You forgot Ruckert.
Yep, sorry,
you forgot Ruckert.
Can I just say honourable mention to Ruckert, because he made 2 catches as well, which was unbelievable. I was like, who the heck is this guy? Who's 89? Jeremy Ruckert. Wow. So there's been a lot of surprises in this game that we didn't see in preseason. So I don't think Ruckert caught a pass in the preseason, and rightly so. Most people were wanting him gone. But Timmy, talk to us about the connection between Fields and Garrett Wilson.
And Myers, so it's kind of a trifecta as well.
Yeah, it is a trifecta, yeah.
Especially for the 33-yard touchdown in particular, it was a beautiful thing to see in motion. Like, have to say, look, we all know that Tippmann is inclined to snap the ball a bit high. I thought Myers' placement was excellent throughout the game. Credit to him. And I don't think he was the most popular lineman going into the game, but he did a fantastic job. But that 33-yard pass, I think, to Garrett, said a lot about, the type of chemistry they have together. People have said that Fields, can throw the ball, the long shots down the field. 33-yard pass for a touchdown, brought down with time as well. The ball was really well placed. Like, Fields finished with a QBR rating of 119, a passer rating of 119. Like, what more could you ask for, right? I think, let me just get up the snap counts here just to remember the snap counts. So Garrett was out there the whole time, 64 snap count. So he, saw most of the ball as well. He had 7 receptions. for 9 targets. He had 9 of the 21 targets that we had. So he's going for the hands that he knows, right? He also targeted Rucker twice as well, again, Ohio State. So leaning on what he knows. But look, you have to give credit to him. And I know Ryan spoke about those 2 standout throws that were in such tight windows as well. Really brave, for a kid who has been bouncing around the league, and confidence, it has to affect you. He just was a menace on Sunday, and credit to him for really coming out on top. With he doesn't have the best staple of receivers there, so put the ball around. 6 people caught the ball. Credit to him.
Yeah, and don't forget that Tyler Johnson one. That was a thread between 2 defenders. It was across the middle, wasn't it? For
Yeah, that
24 yards. I think it was the first down as well.
That one in the Mason
Obviously
Taylor
it's the first
one,
down.
or
Yeah.
that one in the Ruckert one. Sorry, in particular, really stood out to me as well.
Ryan, well, who stood out to you in the receiving game?
I was pleasantly surprised with Jeremy Ruckert. I mean, he's come under a lot of fire, hasn't he? Let's be fair, and rightly so. But you know what? Although his 2 catches were great, he was better in the blocking game again. He was back to what we saw in blocking, kind of the back end of year 1 into year 2, and before it kind of fell off. So I think Ruckert does deserve a bit of credit. Mason Taylor's one catch, 20 yards, can't argue with that. I think the receiving game was fine. I don't think anybody really stood out massively to me that I didn't expect to, other than really Ruckert. I think everybody else kind of did what I expected them to do. The running game really was where it operated, wasn't it? It set up the platform as we expected. But yeah, Fields just made it work with some of those passes. And there was a particular Garrett Wilson catch, and he's headed out to the touchline, and Fields just puts it out there, and Wilson just took it in stride, dip of the toes, and then almost just fell like a falling tree out of bounds. And I just thought, you know what? You guys knew exactly what you were doing here. You were exactly on the same page, and that's what we're going to see more of this season. And I'm buzzing for it.
Yeah, Daniel, it's obvious that coaching matters, doesn't it? Because when this coaching staff was announced, the offensive line coach Steve Hayden was a tight ends coach prior to this, and a lot of people were saying, well, what the hell does he know about offensive line? And now we've got Jeff Blasco, who's the tight ends coach as well. So we've got a lot of players in roles that they weren't ideally suited for. I don't know if that's the right turn of phrase, but they're now in these roles. And I disagree that a tight ends coach can't be an offensive line coach. There's a lot of similarities. And I think probably we're now seeing the bonus of what that looks like when you've got someone like Jeremy Ruckert that's now blocking a lot better than he has done, as Ryan's just pointed out. What were your thoughts on the whole receiving room and the offensive line? It just looks completely different to last year.
It just goes to show you that, unfortunately for Robert Saleh last year and the year before that, Keith Carter was the offensive line coach, and many people said this is a poor decision from Robert Saleh to put him in there. And the reason why the Titans let him go is because his coaching the O-line was the reason why they couldn't get those chunk yards in the running game. This is why the O-line could not protect Aaron Rodgers when he was our quarterback these past 2 seasons. And it's also the fault of Robert Saleh. And I don't want to go too much into Saleh because, look, he tried his best, but still, though, as much of a nice person that he is, and I really did believe in what he wanted to do for this team, the truth of the matter is this. The staff he chose was poor. The staff he chose for the offensive line, the tight ends, the running back, the offensive coordinator was absolutely god-awful poor. And when you get that, you get poor route running, you get poor decision-making, you get absolutely across the board poor play. And that's why the offense was always a question mark each and every game, even though they did have their moments of scoring. But once again, everything was poor coaching wise. Here comes Aaron Glenn. He knows what he wants. He knows who to get. He knows who to bring over. He knows that he needs better coaches to put this talented offense into a positive light and put them on the front foot, which is what they did every single snap. Now, granted, every once in a while, give credit to the Steelers' defense. They did find a way to leak through. You're not going to stop them every single play. You know occasionally they're going to get a positive play against the Jet offense. But that was what, 85 to 90% all Jets on the offense, with the exception of the final possession in the fourth quarter? Yes. Yes, it was. All because of coaching. Coaching does matter in this league. And what Aaron Glenn has done and what he has recognized was absolutely a brilliant stroke. A brilliant stroke for him to improve this Jet offense. And they do it again? They probably will. Will it be like against the Steelers after week 1? Probably not. But if what we saw in week 1 for the Jet offense is what we're going to get each and every freaking game in the 2025 season, then, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you that went after Aaron Glenn said, he's not my head coach, well, you can basically jump into the Thames. You can even jump into the Hudson River for all I care. Because this is our head coach, and he knew what he had to do to fix it.
Yeah, and talking of fixing, that's a good segue there. Talking of fixing, we need to still fix the defensive line. I know that there's a couple of players that have just come in. The best of the bunch that have come in, Harrison Phillips. He looked pretty good. Unspectacular. I think when a player's played relatively well when you don't hear their name called for doing something wrong. So it wasn't great. But there are problems in the secondary, and we'll address that in a second. But first, we'll get into the defensive line, the ends and the interior. It wasn't pretty at times, but I think that they did enough to hold the play up. And I think, as I said before, it was the back end of the defence, the secondary, where we started having problems. And I think it did cause the D-line problems later on in the game. Aaron Rodgers wasn't under as much pressure as I'd have liked. That said, he did get pressure from a certain Will McDonald on occasion. Ryan, talk to us about the D-line. What happened? What's the story of the D-line?
There was some real positives from it, to be honest. For me, I feel like we saw a really polished version of Will McDonald. That bull rush wasn't a fluke in practice. He's been working on that, and he's dominated players through strength in this game against a very good team. Now, he's got himself 2 sacks. His spin move is still absolutely ferocious. I don't see many guys being able to stop that spin move. But the fact that he's added the strength, the bull rush, is superb. Harrison Phillips, it's early days, but he does look like a big body guy that is going to slow the run, but he's also going to hopefully take some of that attention off Big Q, who got himself a sack as well. And Q looked great, to be honest with you. I think that we're so lucky to have Quinnen Williams. And I think there's a section of fans within the Jets that just don't appreciate him.
They don't get it.
Probably don't deserve him either. and I just think he's probably top 3 player on our roster, if not higher than that. He just made a mischief of himself in that game. And then Jermaine Johnson, great to see him back out there. Borderline robbed of a sack. I think that if he'd been half a second quicker, he would have had it. But he looked good. He didn't seem to be off the pace, which is surprising. So he's only going to get better this season. But I tell you who I really want to call out for the game, and his stats don't reflect it. And that was Jawan Briggs.
Yeah.
Like this guy we paid peanuts for, and he's come in and he seems to have that mentality that we're all looking for. He's got that dog in him. He's in your face. He's abrasive. And he wants to seek that ball. Like he's had 1 tackle he recorded on the game.
It was 1, yeah.
But I can remember at least 4 or 5 plays where he was the second man there. The tackle was already made, but he's the next man there. And that's what you need. Because if that tackle doesn't stick, and we saw it enough last season before, where that first tackle didn't stick, you need the next guy in, and he needs to be in quick. And Juwan Briggs was there for a few of those. So I feel quite confident that this D line is better than we expected it to be 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It still isn't perfect. It still isn't right, but I don't believe we're a bottom 5 D line now. Whereas actually a couple of weeks ago, I probably would have been thinking we could be bottom 2 or 3. I think we're going to see some good progression from this D line, but we are still going to need to do something, if not this season, next season, to bolster it. But
And bearing in mind that those two players you've just mentioned, they came in off waivers, so they haven't had any pre-season with us. So everything that they've learned would have been in practice. So, as you've said, I think they've picked up.
Gus, can I just jump in and just go along with what Ryan just said? And I agree with him. I agree with Ryan 100%. You got to blame Joe Douglas for the poor decision of making that trade for Hassan Reddick, because that costed the Jets the run defense grade from the past 3 years before last year happened. Because if they don't make that trade for Hassan Reddick, and I understand getting an edge rusher like him is absolutely fantastic, but when you get rid of two excellent run blockers like John Franklin Myers and I forgot the other one though, when you get rid of those guys, and Quinnen Williams has no help in attempting to make sacks, which he didn't even have a sack until maybe later in the season, then that's a problem. That's a big, big problem stopping the run. So I can blame Joe Douglas for getting rid of that top 5 ranked run defense that they had.
Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off as well, Ryan. You were about to say something else.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I did forget what I was going to say when you just came back to me, but it's come back to me.
Sorry.
I was going to say, Michael Clemens, is still the weak link. I think probably the biggest positive out of it is that we didn't really see much of him kicking off and causing problems. But I think that is still there. I think that's probably still within him something. So, the sooner we can replace Michael Clemens, the better. But look, if he's not used a great deal and he is that rotation that doesn't cause us any problems, then fine. Keep him around until we draft someone better, basically. But
I'll just touch on the linebackers. I don't think we really I think we know what we've got with linebackers. Just touching on Clemens. I think he's on borrowed time. I think he will be next out the door, and we'll touch on that at the back end of this podcast. I keep saying. Top 5 in the tackles was Quincy Williams, Tony Adams, safety, Jamie and Sherwood, Quinnen Williams, Marcelino McCrary-Ball. Nice to have the linebacking core, and they should be making those tackles as well. A lot of solo tackles, and we got a sack from Quincy as well, and Quinnen. So both of the Williams brothers breaking their duck early in the game. It's nice to see the linebackers getting stuck in. I thought the linebackers looked absolutely phenomenal. They were all over the place. But there was a couple of missed tackles on tight ends as well. But I think that will get cleared up, which will bring us onto the secondary, because I think that this all connects to the secondary and how the secondary played. Timmy, you want to give us the rundown on how the secondary played?
Yeah, I think that we would have come into this game thinking that the secondary was potentially a strength, and it just didn't really show up for us. Obviously, Sauce had a fantastic game, was absolutely excellent, targeted 4 times for 1 reception, and 11. I don't even think that it was his fault on that reception, to be honest with you. If you remember, the ball ricocheted and the receiver caught it, so he actually had broken up the pass before that, so unbelievable performance from him. But there was just a few others who kind of stood out. Brandon Stevens, we had been told by Ravens fans that he's somebody that, offensive coordinators target because he can't get his head around. And that really showed up yesterday again. Targeted 7 times for 5 receptions and 60 yards. Just wasn't getting his head around. Was caught out multiple times. Was caught out of position as well. A real concern, to be honest with you. I think that, for me, they have to really be looking at bringing A.Z. Thomas in. the rookie who we took in the third round, who I think is long, kind of has that sauce look about him. I think it looked like a real weakness for us on the day, and it was very obvious that Arthur Smith, the OC for the Steelers, was targeting him. Aside from that as well, not a popular one to say because everybody loves him, but Michael Carter, I think, had an off night. Hopefully that's a one-off and maybe he's, adapting to the scheme, but he was one of the best nickel corners last year. So hopefully that's just a one-off and it's just maybe a scheme adjustment. Thought Tony Adams had a very poor night playing safety as well. Targeted 3 times for 3 receptions of 56 yards. He just didn't look physical enough out there. He just looked like his positioning was off. He didn't look sticky. So it'll be interesting to see as well how long he's going to get before Malachi Moore is a consideration, the rookie that we brought in as well, who I know Gus is a big fan of pre-draft, and I think we all were a fan of how he looked in the preseason as well. So I think he's somebody who's going to definitely end up starting sooner rather than later based on what we saw from Adams on the night. Cisco, just to finish off with the last safety, Cisco, I thought, out there from the eye test perspective, looked like he didn't have a great game, but statistically things seem to have kind of leveled out. I think potentially because he was playing so deep, potentially that they didn't consider the targets to be towards him. It just didn't look as good as I would have expected from him. I'll put it that way. I don't know. I don't know if it's a scheme thing, but I think that we need to work on our safety room for sure, and it's a big consideration as we head into next week.
Okie dokie. I think that's pretty concise. I think I probably agree with pretty much everything that you said there. The starters that we've got right now, I think in a few weeks' time might have changed. I agree. I think Azariah Thomas is still carrying that knock, so I think they're probably going to give him time to get himself completely mended before elevating, if that's what happens. But Ryan, you've got a take for us, which you're going to explain. McNamara.
This is a good segue into special teams, isn't it? But do you know what? Austin McNamara, all through pre-season, we were loving how good his punts were. We were loving the air time, the distance, everything else. And he didn't do a single thing in the first half. Not a single thing the first half.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing it is. We did not punt once in the first half. I can't remember if I'm misremembering the reading of the stat, but something like the first time since 1991. Is that correct? That we hadn't.
It was something.
Yes, it is.
I think it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was a bit tongue in cheek. I think McNamara's great. I think we've absolutely nailed this special teams unit, barring the person we're going to come on to shortly. But yeah, how amazing not to actually punt in the first half and to also have consecutive scoring visits to the opposition's half to make our way in on the first drive and score. Just honestly, the difference of things like that are enormous in my opinion. I just think that to be able to go down, it would have been amazing if we'd gone down first drive, scored a touchdown, but I'll take 3 in this scenario because they stomped back down there and then they scored on the second go. So there's improvements to be made on that front, but what a stark difference from what we've seen.
Yeah.
Amazing. So pleased.
Let's get into the nuts and bolts on this, because it has been, other than the game, it has been the news of the week. And there's been a collective sigh of relief through Jets Nation. Wide receiver, it's no surprise. Glenn had a presser earlier on in the week saying, if you don't do your job, you'll be gone. Man of his word. He has done it. Xavier Gibson is no longer a Jet. In his place, we have now signed Isaiah Williams, second-year player out of Illinois. He was on the Cincinnati Bengals practice squad, who was originally undrafted free agent for the Detroit Lions. He started as rookie with the Detroit Lions before being waived. He's appeared in 8 games, 2 with Detroit and 6 with Cincinnati. He's had 11 punt returns for 93 yards, which is an average of 8.5. I think he'll be returning punts, I think it's fair to say, not unless something major happens. I just also want to mention, before we go more into depth about that. The Jets have also signed running back Keelan Robinson from the practice squad, who was prior to this a Philadelphia Eagle. Right, Daniel, I want to come to you with this one because I'm sure you've got a take on this. Xavier Gibson, he shouldn't have been on the squad, should he?
No, he should have been cut right away. He should have been cut right away. He should never have sniffed the roster at all for this game. He should have been cut. Listen, I don't like talking about, seeing players lose their jobs. I don't like seeing anybody lose their job, even in the real world, whether it's in the banking industry, the hospital, lawyers, hardware salesmen, whatever it is. I don't like seeing people losing their jobs because one day it could be you, But the fumbling by Gibson was so maddening. It just made you pull your hair out, and it made you destroy your favorite teacup when you picked it up and threw it across the room and it broke right there because it's all Gibson's fault. The two plays, and it was kick return plays because unfortunately Kene Nwangwu, he pulled a hamstring. He had a hamstring injury, so he couldn't do kickoffs anymore on the returns. So you had to go to Gibson. You had to play both punt returner and kick returner, which is fine. I understand. And you hope that, okay, fine, you're on the roster. Please tell me you fixed your issues. And he didn't. Because the first attempt at kickoff returning, he doesn't get tripped up by the Steelers. He trips himself. He tried to cut and he slipped. Because if he doesn't slip, that's a kickoff return for a touchdown. I mean, they could have had a touchdown right away. And that could have been 9-3, 10-3, whatever you wanted to call it. But then you watch the replay and, the announcers are not getting it. Neither is the analyst. But when Gibson fell down, he wasn't even touched by a Steeler. Wasn't touched.
Yeah.
And he drops the ball after he goes down and celebrates.
It was awful. It was awful. I mean, we all saw it. There was no one near him, and he just absolutely dropped the ball. I think Ryan's got a take on this as well. Gibson, what's your take, Ryan?
I totally agree that he shouldn't have made the roster, but I'll offer it from a slightly different angle. That the positive that's come from this is that Glenn gave him a chance, and he messed it up, and he's shown the accountability. He has turned around and gone, look, this was your opportunity. You've not made just one mistake, you've made two. So we're going to have to go in a different direction. Here was your opportunity. You've screwed it. I'm sorry, but here's your papers. Good luck. He's created that accountability from day one, and that's all we can ask for. It's all we've been asking for years. And look, there's two mistakes within something like 7 returns or something on the night.
Yep.
And look, there are other guys available to do this. Aaron Smith returned one for 31 yards. We've got Jamal Pritchard on the practice squad. Keelan Robinson was very well known for what he did at the Longhorns. I think he was on the practice squad at a time for the Jags as well, and the Jags fans were quite excited about what he might be able to do. Never quite happened. And look, Isaiah Williams. I mean, if that's not a returner's name, I don't know what is. It's
another Williams.
Yeah, exactly, and an Isaiah. So we're going back to the Joe Douglas school of drafting.
Yeah, we need more players all with the same team name, just to confuse the opposition.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy for the financials when you only have to produce one jersey.
That's it. Sign me up.
I just want to say this though, with that first kickoff return. Let me just say this, because when every Jet fan in MetLife Stadium is celebrating that run, and Gibson is celebrating his run, he was never touched. Could you imagine if a Steeler had an inkling and just said to themselves, did anyone touch him? Did anybody touch Gibson? And they grab the ball and he's running to the other end of the field into the end zone for a touchdown. And everyone's like, what the hell is he doing? He was down. What are you talking about? And they review it. And they announced it in the stadium that the ball, that Gibson wasn't touched, and the Steelers picked up the ball because it's a fumble, and they took it all the way for a score. That would have been 14-3 Steelers. That would have been 14-3 Steelers. Now, thankfully, Marceliano McCreary-Ball was recognizing that Gibson wasn't touched and jumped on the ball to make sure it's Jets ball, or else we don't get that Garrett Wilson touchdown from Justin Fields. And then the more infuriating of the two, because that's what cost the Jets the game. Not on offense, not on defense, but Xavier Gibson when it was 26-24 Jets, and he is on the left side of the field, and the sideline is to his left. The ball was in his right. Gibson should know better than to put that ball on his, in his right hand, because that gives the signal to the kickoff return team, the team that's kicking the ball to the Jets, which is the Steelers. You're going to give someone a free shot to knock it out of your hand. And it happened. And the Steelers recovered. And then they quickly scored a touchdown at 20 yards inside the Jets' side of the field. And they got the quick score to make it, at the time, 31-26.
Great points, Daniel. You bring up a really valid point there as well. Thanks for bringing that up. Just before we go to Timmy, he's got something else he just wants to bring up. Ryan, you've just got something to add on the back end of this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it brief. I kind of disagree that it is solely on Gibson that we lost the game. I don't believe any game really gets lost on a single moment. I believe that in all sports. There was enough turnover opportunities missed. There were enough scoring opportunities missed at times. If we're in a position to win, a fumble doesn't matter. To me, one moment doesn't always define the game. And as much as I want to blame Gibson because I feel he was worthy of blame for certain issues, I just think that you can look at Brandon Stevens, you can look at Michael Carter, you can look at Tony Adams, even Andre Sisco, as all having made big enough errors in that game that caused us to concede points. That actually, if they don't make those mistakes in the run-up, we're probably 14 points ahead by the point he drops that ball, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I agree that Gibson is at fault. He's a portion of the blame, but there are other issues we need to fix other than just that fumble.
He shouldn't have been on the 53. He was given a chance, and fair play to Aaron Glenn for giving him that chance. This might have been the plan all along, because at the end of the day, it sends a message to not only the players, it sends a message to the coaching staff and everybody else involved as well. You're not doing your job, you're gone. Timmy, let's finish this off. What have you got, brother?
Just two quick small points there. I suppose one thing I was slightly disappointed with was Braylon Allen's performance on the night. I was just expecting a little bit more. He only rushed the ball 6 times. One of those rushes was from a shotgun for an 8-yard touchdown. Fair enough, early in the game. But for his other 5 rushes, he had a total of 1 yard, which disappointing considering how well the O-line was doing. He just didn't seem to be finding the seam. And I was just hoping for a bit more. I was hoping for a bit more of a Sonic and Knuckles out of himself and Brees. And he just, it'll be interesting to see if Isaiah Davis starts to maybe outsnap him as we head into the coming weeks. So that's something to watch. The other thing to just call out as well is, I suppose, the penalties. Penalty yardage definitely down for ourselves, especially pre-snap. I know there was a lot of talk about us probably potentially dropping 3 points just before the half because of Simpson rushing in to protect his quarterback. That's one of those ones I'm okay with taking because, I like to see. When Zach Wilson was there, we were very quick to say the O-line weren't jumping in to protect him and look after him. It kind of tells me that, they really respect Fields and we have a bit of grit to us, and I'm kind of okay with that. But yeah, some penalties we could have done without. I think the Quincy one at the sideline, in particular, was one that stood out. A few small little things that need cleaning up, and maybe that gets us there,
Okie dokie. I think Ryan has just had to leave us. He's got real life problems going on. No, he hasn't got problems going on. He's just he's got to go and pick somebody up. So Ryan's had to leave us. Daniel, you got anything else you want to bring up before we wrap this up?
Well, I just want to say this. I mean, it stunk that the Jets lost. It stunk really badly. And all I can tell you is this, is that, while I'm not happy with the loss, I'm not happy with the result, I'm very happy with the performance. I'm very happy with the performance. And if this is what we're going to get for the next 16 weeks in the NFL season, and hopefully the next several years, and it leads us to the promised land, which is the playoffs. I can't say Super Bowl yet because I need to see more, but so far, it's just it's just a revelation. It's just amazing that you get a man that has the right mentality to coach this team, and he finds the right people, the right coaching staff to go out there and execute the game plan. And Tanner Engstrom, that man is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Timmy, you got any further closing thoughts?
Yeah, just very similar to Daniel. I'm excited for the next game just to see if we can maintain what we saw on offense. Credit to Tanner Engstrand and his staff. Tight ends coach, O-line coach. You have to give them all credit, right? Steve Hayden has showed us the impact that it can have to have good coaching on the O-line. I'm excited to just see us play offense again this coming week, and it's been a long time since we felt that way. So credit to everybody involved.
Yeah, I back up everything you guys have just said. This coaching staff, all of them, they're all still learning their trade. We're all growing as a team. The fans too, we're all growing along the way as well with this. We're all learning what this coaching staff's about. We're seeing players that are now playing better. Coaching matters. I'll tell you what though, on Monday, even though we lost the game, after watching how we played, particularly the offense, it felt like a win. And I went to work with a spring in my step on Monday morning. So we didn't get the win, but it felt like a victory Monday. We've got the Bills coming up this Sunday. We are going to do a preview on Saturday morning. So it should be out UK time midday on Saturday. So you can catch our preview then. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts. And let's do this again on Saturday. As always,
y'all know what to say. On 3. 1, 2, 3.